Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Simply Farms. Today I have a very unique gift, if you may, for you. I'm going to give you a full garden tour of exactly what we've been growing out here since the beginning of this year. And of course, some things that have been growing since last year and how they've been progressing. So, let's do this. All right, first thing I want to show you guys is my yellow dragon fruit. Now this thing has been growing for a while. It's about 3 years old right now. Started it from just a cutting down here, and it has grown considerably. I've already collected about 5 yellow passion fruit from this particular one, or a particular cactus. And it's continuing to grow, and as you can see, the tops definitely have some new growth on there. All of those are brand new this year. So this thing I definitely know will be giving me a lot more fruit later on. All right, let's go to the next thing. All right, so next up we have this lychee air layer. Now this is a small air layer. And if you guys know about air layers, you already know that this is a mature little tree that my buddy Andre actually did off of one of his mature lychee trees. And I've had this thing in the ground for about 8 months or about 6 months. Let's be real. It's been about 6 months since I've had this in the ground, and it's doing pretty well because you can see there's brand new leaves that are showing up on these bottom ones, which means it has established its roots and is going to be doing just fine where it's at. All right, next up. All right, next up we have our pineapples. I think she saw a squirrel, so she ran after it. I trained her to do that. All right, so next up we have our pineapples. Have a few plants behind me. 2 of them actually have pineapples on them. These are actually having pineapples for the very first time. They've been in the ground for about 2 years. So this is the first of the pineapples for this year. And of course, when we go on this other side, we do have other pineapples that are growing. Come on, let's go, guys. All right, so we got some pineapples growing down here as well. So I call this my little pineapple row right behind me. And in pineapple row, we do have a few pineapples that are growing. There's 2 behind me right here. And then there's another one that's behind a cage. Now, I know you guys are probably wondering, why does he have a cage around his pineapple? Well, there's a reason behind why I have a cage around this pineapple. The reason for it is because I don't want the critters to get it before I get a chance to eat it. And I do have raccoons and possums that come around here, and when these pineapples get big enough and they get nice enough, they start to bite on them. So I want to make sure I'm protecting these pineapples. All right, so I do have another dragon fruit that I didn't say anything about, and I just realized I'm missing one of my dragon fruits. This one behind me is a American Beauty. It's red on the inside, red skin on the outside, or purple skin on the outside. It's less than a year old, and you can see there's a lot of new growth that's pushing on there, right? So it's definitely where it wants to be. It's getting plenty of sun because, of course, it is a cactus. So when you're placing your dragon fruit, make sure you place it somewhere where it's going to get plenty of sun. And it also needs a lot of nutrients and water as well, okay? It's a cactus, but it is a tropical cactus, so it does need water, okay? So don't get to the point where you're not watering this thing and it fails. So make sure you're watering your dragon fruits, all right? All right, so next on the docket is our bananas. These are Brazilian bananas, by the way. They've been growing very well here. Started out with just 2 small pups, and it has grown considerably. We do have I actually have collected some racks from these bananas already. These ones came in during the winter time. Not sure why. I guess we had a pretty warm winter this year. So these racks came in the winter time. So I just let them continue to just grow to see what's going to happen. Once these racks are done, we normally cut these down because, of course, the new ones, which are these little smaller ones, are the ones that's going to take over once we get the racks off of the larger bananas. So since we've had these here, I think I've collected at least 5 racks. These are the smaller Brazilian bananas. They're about this tall. I don't know if you guys can see how these little small things are, but they get a little bit bigger than that, but they are pretty small bananas. They're very tasty, very sweet, and we've been enjoying them for a very long time, about 4 years now. So These things have been doing very well. So let's go ahead and move on to our next item. These are our bonita plantains. These are the little short fat plantains. I started out with one little tree that multiplied into all of this, and it's been growing here, and we've collected a couple of racks off of it. We had a few racks that we lost because of the hurricanes that came through here. Of course, we had some cold snaps that happened as well. So these bananas are rebounding at this point. So they're doing fine right now. So they're rebounding, and we're going to just keep on feeding these things. So of course, when it comes to your, and I said banana, I mean plantains. According to how you're supposed to be feeding your plantains, you're supposed to give them all the food scraps you can. You give them a lot of water, because they are voracious little eaters. So you got to make sure you're feeding these things so that way they can continue to grow. All right, let's get to the next thing. All right, next up is the passion fruit vine that you guys see behind me. I know it looks a little strange, but these are some bird of paradise trees that were growing here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with bird of paradise, but they grow pretty tall. As you can see, they get pretty tall. So I decided, let me go ahead and allow a couple passion fruit vines to grow up these bird of paradise to kind of fill it out a little bit more. Bird of paradise, they do not really produce any kind of fruit or anything. They do have some real nice flowers, however. But as you can see, this passion fruit has taken to this bird of paradise, and it has a lot of fruit on it. I don't know if you guys can see that behind me, but there's a lot of passion fruit on that thing. I do have other passion fruit vines in the yard, and I'll kind of bring some of those to you later on. So this key lime tree behind me has been here since we moved in. So I'm not exactly sure how old it is, but it has been a very good producer. For the past 4 years, we've been collecting a bunch of key lime off of here. It does have the citrus greening disease that a lot of citrus trees have in the state of Florida. However, I've been continuing to feed it, make sure I'm trimming it, make sure I am mulching it, watering it, and it has been producing quite a bit. But this year it's slowing down a little bit. I'm a little concerned, but I am going to continue to feed it. There are some small ones on here. You have some down here. There's a few small ones on the tree, but it's not exactly how it was before. However, there has been a lot of flowers on here. They did not turn into fruit, so that's a little bit concerning, but I am going to continue to monitor this tree, and I will bring you some updates on how it's doing, because this little guy over here, the key lime pies that we've made from this thing, wonderful, wonderful. Let's just say that. All right, as you guys already know, I am from the Caribbean, from the island of Haiti. And one thing I know about my Caribbean folks, we love our sugarcane. Of course, of course. So of course, I've been growing this sugarcane patch since we moved into this house. I've collected so much sugarcane from here. I can't even tell you how much of it I've collected from here. We've made everything from molasses to just sugarcane juice to just eating them just straight from the ground. I've also started a smaller patch right behind you right here. This is the newest patch, as well as some other ones that I'm growing on the other side here, because I recently got a sugarcane press, and I definitely want to make different drinks with sugarcane juice and probably offer it when we do have our little mango sales. And speaking of mangoes, I gotta show you guys the tree. Our pride and joy, our pearl mango. Pearl mangoes are originally from Australia. If you know, you know. Now, this pearl mango tree has been here, I believe, for at least 8 years, because we went all the way back to the different pictures from before we bought this home, just to see what the yard used to look like. And we did notice this tree when it was smaller, and we found out it was a pearl mango, which is a variety that's from Australia. And it's been growing and producing. The mangoes are superb. They're sweet, very low fiber. They remind you of wild honey. And I've actually been selling some of these mangoes in my front yard. And last year we moved quite a bit of mangoes, you know. So this tree is literally our little pride and joy. Some of the mangoes are dropping, but we have quite a bit that's left on this tree. So of course, by I would say mid-July-ish, all these mangoes will be ready and we will be sampling them. I'm going to bring you some videos, of course, on sampling these mangoes so you can see what they look like on the inside and when they're fully ripe. All right, so this is our Pearl mango. We call her Little Pearl. So let's move on to the next one. All right, I say let's go ahead and go through these garden beds because there's quite a bit of stuff growing in the garden beds, and we're going to start off with garden bed number 1. Now, the first one we have here, in the front of it, we have a couple Roma tomatoes that are growing in pots. They do have a few tomatoes on them. They're not even a couple months old, believe it or not. These, for some reason, they grew like monsters. So in this bed, we do have some eggplants that are growing. We have some more tomatoes on this side. We have our Better Boy tomato that's over here. This, as you can see, these ones are ready to harvest. So I'm going to harvest these pretty soon, or definitely today. We have some beautiful marigolds as well growing in here to attract some of the pollinators. As you can see, some of them just flew by here. And of course, when we move to this side of the bed, we have our peppers that are growing here. We also have some poblano peppers right in there. These are black, or I guess they call them black cherries. I think I had the name right here. Let me just take a gander. Yep, black cherry tomatoes. That's what these guys are that are growing in here. And you can see they're so nice. Look at these little things. They're beautiful. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab one, just one. Oh wow, this one's soft. Oh yeah, look at that. It pretty much burst. Look at that. I'm gonna hold on to this one. Gotta wash them off. I always make sure I wash everything. Even though I don't spray any kind of crazy pesticides or anything in my garden, I still make sure I wash everything before eating it. So that's just the way we are here. So now, moving on to bed number 2. Bed number 2 doesn't have a lot of things growing in there. We do have a black diamond watermelon that's growing in here. We also have some beans that we're trying to grow in here before that were not successful. I'm not exactly sure why they were not successful, but the bush beans that we were trying to grow were not successful in any of these beds. And it was in bed number 2 and bed number 3 that we were trying to grow bush beans. Hey, if you've been enjoying the videos or picking up tips on growing your own food or living sustainably, consider buying me a cup of coffee. It's a simple way of showing your support to the channel, and it also helps keep the content growing, literally. Just hit the link in the description. Thanks a bunch. And that didn't work out, so we're going to try something else. Now, even though it didn't work out, we did get a couple of them that decided that they're going to just go ahead and give it all they got. And as you guys can see, we got some beans growing here. So I still have some hope. I have some flowers up here, and it's definitely climbing up this trellis. So I do have some hope for it. And hopefully, there's a few of them. You can tell over here as well in bed number 3 that there's some of the beans that are trying to use this trellis to climb up. So as long as they're climbing up, they're going to definitely produce. I got some flowers on here, so still a little hopeful. Bed number 4 is where we have our yard-long beans. The yard-long beans, however, are doing very nicely. They're climbing up this trellis beautifully. Starting from inside of this bed, they're using this trellis to climb up and over. And I noticed a yard-long bean yesterday. It's funny how they grow so quickly and you didn't even notice they were there, but this is what they look like. This is a yard-long bean. It's about 12 inches, I'm not sure, currently. I think this is about 12 inches, a little bit more. But this is what they're going to look like. And there, I saw some small, tiny little ones. Look, these just got started. So they're going to be just as long as that guy down there. And when they're ready to pick, they actually get much thicker than this. So this is about the length that they get to, but then they get a little thicker and then you can pick them from there. Now also, bed number 4 has some okra. This beast over here is Andre's giant okra, Andre the farmer's giant okra. I got some seeds from him And I put the seeds down and it did not disappoint whatsoever. This is one huge, look at the size of this leaf, this okra leaf compared to my hand. So this thing is growing some giant okras. Look at this guy. Look at this. They're getting bigger and bigger. Our corn is not doing so bad. Got some multicolored corn in the front and some, I believe those back here are called peaches and cream. Those are the smaller ones back there. So we got our corn, we got our okra, we got our beans. Sounds like we got a meal going on over here in this bed. So this is what we got going on in these beds. I'm going to show you what we have going on in these pots in front, and you're going to be amazed because these tomatoes are the biggest that I've ever seen in terms of growth. These things are less than a couple months old, like I said, and they have been growing as if it's hard to explain. The thickness of the stems on these tomatoes is remarkable. So stay tuned, let me show you. Okay, as I was saying, look at this, the thickness of the stems on these tomatoes. This is something that I'm not used to because usually tomatoes are a little skinnier than this, or a lot skinnier than this, but these things are growing like mini trees, if you will. Flowers on them, got plenty of flowers. This one has definitely a little tomato on it, right over there. But these are Roma tomatoes. And I also have a habanero pepper that's growing right here as well. And it's got plenty of them underneath. So we also have more tomatoes growing in these. So all these front pots are tomatoes and peppers. And you can see some of them already have some tomatoes on there. Some of them are just getting some flowers on them. The peppers are coming in slowly. They're growing a little bit slow. These are some sweet peppers. And we also are growing some watermelon in pots. We're trying this for the first time this year because usually I grow my watermelons just in the ground. But I wanted to see if I can try them in pots and have them climb up this trellis. So this is orange watermelon, or orange flesh watermelon. These are also orange flesh watermelons. The story behind these guys is the watermelon that I ate a year ago, I got the seeds from it and I decided to grow those seeds and they're doing very nicely. So all of this is orange watermelon. And I believe I saw a little one, or a little melon forming. There it is. There's a little watermelon that's already starting down there. And I believe I saw another somewhere over here, kind of hiding. But it's down there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's down there. Next up is my peach tree. I love this little peach tree. It's been producing for a long time since we've got here. As you can see, there's a bunch of peaches that are ready to be picked. We've picked a bunch of peaches, given out bags of peaches. This year, this is the most this tree has ever gotten in terms of production. And that's because I made sure that I was trimming it properly so that way it didn't have a center branch that was dominating. So that way all the nutrients, everything went to the side branches. And that's why you see all these side branches are loaded. When I say loaded, loaded with peaches. So it worked. All right, now stay with me. This is a full garden tour because I wanted you guys to see exactly what's been growing back here. So next up is these butternut squash. I tried to grow them last year, failed. When I say failed, it was horrible. But this year I decided to grow them in pots and they're doing very well. So all of them have at least about 2 butternut squash on there. So we are definitely going to be making some soup later on this year. I love butternut squash soup, and I always wanted to grow my own so I can see if there's a difference in flavor, different in taste, and we will see this year because I am going to be making some and probably bring it to you guys live and see what you guys think. All right, let's get to the next thing. All right, so next up behind me, we have our Boo Boo Mango tree. Yeah, it's a funny name, or it's a different name, but that was just a nickname of the person who helped me find this little mango that I grew from a seed. And for the first time, it has little mangoes on there. So we're going to get to see what it tastes like probably towards the end of this year, or mid this year. I would say I give it another couple of months or a few months and they'll be ready to eat. So we're going to find out what the Boo Boo Mango tastes like. So that, I wanted to bring that to you. Now, last but not least, of course, finally has a beautiful little pomegranate on there. So I can't wait to try this and actually see what type of pomegranate we're going to get from this little pomegranate tree that's been growing here for about 2 years. It gave me one pomegranate last year, but it didn't go all the way through. But this year, I have hope that this one is going to continue to grow, and I'm going to get to pull it off the tree and tell you guys what it tastes like. I said last, but I guess there's more, because I wanted to show you guys my Oro Negro avocado and how much, I don't know if you can even see these little tiny avocados that are on here, but there's a little avocados all over this tree. And also my Goliath avocado tree, which is the other skinny one over there, as you can see in the back, that's real tall. It also has avocados on there. So this year, we're going to be feasting on a lot of avocados from this tree behind me. This is my Oro Negro, and it flowered this year and last year. But last year, we only got maybe about 8 to 10 avocados. But this year, the way it looks, we're going to get about 50 to 60 avocados from this thing. So stay tuned. These avocados are so delicious too. Oh my goodness. One last thing I want to show you guys before I let you go. So let's go. All right, guys, promise, last but not least. What you have here on this wall is a purple possum passion fruit. This one was sent to me from seed. So a friend of mine sent some seeds from Indonesia. And I planted the seed. As you can see, there's a skinny little vine that it started. It's not exactly huge, but when it comes to production in terms of leaves and all that it can be, this thing is definitely a grower. Definitely. I mean, you can see how small the trunk is versus how much leaves we have on here, and how many shoots we have in terms of flowers. This thing just started flowering I just saw them yesterday. So I am excited to see what kind of passion fruit, or what the passion fruit will look like, because sometimes they tell you when you grow a passion fruit from seed, it's not the same thing that you get when the passion fruit actually fruits. So we're going to see if that is true, because these are supposed to be purple possum, and we'll see if that's what they produce. Do not forget to like, follow, subscribe, and leave me a comment below. Let me know some of the things that you enjoyed seeing in my yard, and some other things that you might want more information about. All right, until next time, thank you for watching. We'll see you later, all right?